Hey everybody, welcome to another video, and today we're going to be sharpening a couple knives on the Diamond Matrix Edge Pro stones. So stay tuned. Okay, let's jump right into it. Today we're making a video on the Diamond Matrix stones. This is a new line that the Edge Pro guys have, and it extends past the one that you normally know of, which is the 2300 and the 4000. And these are slightly different stones than you would see over at Chef Knives To Go or at the Atoma. These are actually diamond resin bond stones, and so they work differently with your knife. And I did a really great interview with the guy who actually invented these stones, and hopefully I'll post that in a couple days. His name is David. And so let's take a look at what this knife looks like before. And basically what we have is we have about an 8-inch chef's knife. Okay, so this is under magnification. There's a few chips in the blade. I just took a photo of the biggest one, and I didn't bother with the other one, but they both look pretty much about the same. And so the series starts with 300, but in order for me to really get a nice bevel going, I'm going to actually use the aluminum oxide 220 that Edge Pro has. I like the 300 diamond resin bond stone, but it's just not as aggressive as the 220 aluminum oxide. So we're going to use that 220 aluminum oxide to get that 21 degrees going. And we're going to go ahead and from that point go ahead and work into the diamond resin bond stones. Okay, so as you can see, nice and easy. This is the 220 aluminum oxide. We're moving it relatively slow. You know, sometimes I do get in a hurry and I want to rush that stone, but I find that it cuts a lot better the slower you move it. And I'm putting the pressure on the arm on the forward stroke, and so it's leading with the pressure. And as you can see, I'm doing both knives at the same time. It's just the easiest way. I've already got my angle set, and I'm doing one, and then I'm doing the other. So this is going to be the 300 stone, and immediately you can feel the difference between the aluminum oxide and the diamond resin bond. It's a little smoother. It's given me a lot of great feedback. I splashed a tiny little bit of water on it, and it works fantastic. And you know, that's one of those things that you really get the feel for is the feedback that your stone is giving you. And so that 220 gave us the burr that we were looking for, and so we've hit it on both sides. And now I'm not going to need to work each one of these diamond stones too often. Really, what I'm doing at this point is I'm polishing, and so that 220's done the majority of the work. And I'm going to just work through the progression, and I'm going to take it through each stone. I just want to see how it feels before we move on to the next one. And so basically I did about 2 passes on each side. 2 passes on each side. And with diamond resin bonds, you want to keep it clean. You want to keep them a little cleaner than you would like your ceramic stones or your aluminum oxide stones. You know, if you are... You know, there's many different ways to sharpen a knife, and some people like to put a lot of pressure and a lot of force on their bar, especially using a guided system. And what's going to happen is you kind of glaze your stone over. If I'll do another video one day on why aren't your stones working, and it's a good reason. We'll cover one of the points, and because I've done it, that's how I know. But if you're gentle with the pressure that you put on your edge leading or edge trailing strokes, you can easily wipe that swarth off with just some water, just like that. Put a little bit of water on it, and you can see the metal shavings just kind of float to the top, and you can wipe it right off. Diamond resin bond stones aren't going to soak up like your aluminum oxides, so you're just kind of giving the working surface a little bit of moisture. But you do want to clean it off, because the diamonds that are cutting and the metal that is coming off, all of that's going to affect the way you sharpen your knife. You want to keep the stone clean. Another thing that you want to do with these diamond resin bond stones is you want to, in between stones, you want to make sure that you wipe your knife down real well. You don't want any residual from your previous stone to remain on your knife. So, for instance, if you're working the 650, which is, I believe, the one we have. Actually, this may be the 1000. I think this is 1000. So if we're working the 650, it's a good example. And, we jump up to the 4000, that the diamonds that were released from that 650 diamond resin bond stone, we want to make sure we get that off of there. Otherwise, the scratch pattern's going to get all screwed up, and, you're not going to sharpen it the way you want. And, I'll tell you, what's really revealing is magnification. And I guess, hindsight, I should have probably taken photos of each, now that I'm thinking about it, of each stone after I did it. But I didn't. Maybe I'll do that some other time. Right now, we are using the 2300 stone. And right now, this thing is just really, really looking good. It's, that burr was achieved with the aluminum oxide right at the very beginning. And so each one of these stones is just refining that scratch pattern, just making it smoother and smoother and smoother, and all the way up to the 4000. We're going to take it all the way to the 4000. So depending on what you're trying to go for. In this case, we are using these knives to cut various different proteins and things like that. And so what I wanted to do was just get a razor edge on it, test these knives out for the first, these stones out for the first time, and see what it looked like. And so now we are on the last stone. This is the 4000. Actually, there's one more. There's a 6000, but the 6000 is tricky. It's not like these other stones, and so I didn't feature it in this video. The 6000's you got to. It's not nearly as forgiving, and it's a little more. It requires a little more finesse, and so for the sake of easeability, these stones were hands down probably the way to go. Right now, the knife's incredibly sharp, just incredibly sharp. And what I want to do is I want to do some edge leading strokes only with the 4000. And so what I'm doing is I'm putting just a touch of pressure as I'm going forward, and as I'm coming back, it's not touching the knife at all. So this is the opposite way that you would use, let's say, a strop, or more or less removing a burr, so to speak. So, and I'm only experimenting at this point. Truth is, I did some edge trailing strokes, and only as if I was stropping the knife, and man, it came out nice. It came out pretty. And so, when you start to get into that higher grit diamond resin bond stone, then it doesn't really require a whole lot of pressure, and it doesn't require a whole lot of back and forth. You're just really defining the edge and just softening up that scratch pattern just a tiny bit. One thing I'm looking out for is my tip. I'm just trying to make sure that I'm not rolling the tip as I'm finishing up, and I want to make sure that everything looks really nice and even, nice and straight. So I'm making nice long edge leading passes. And I'll end up doing this for both knives. And this is hands down the easiest way to do it. Now if you're sharpening at different angles, then obviously you're going to want to do those independently. But if you have multiple knives that you're going to sharpen at the same exact angle, then do each one of them, for each stone, and then bam, move on to the next one. And move on to the next one, and it'll cut your time by like 75%. And so right now we're just finishing up these last few passes. If you're familiar with the diamond resin 4000 or the diamond resin 2300, then you know the kind of edge that this thing will elevate your knife to, especially if you finish up on the 1200 Edge Pro stone, or the 1000 Edge Pro stone. So let's go ahead and take the tape off and just take a tiny little peek at it. We'll see what it looks like under magnification, and do a little cut test and see how that looks as well. I can already see the reflection in the edge myself, and man, it looks nice. This was an award given to a customer of ours for a free knife sharpening, and they brought me 2 of their favorite knives that they had in their kitchen, and we sharpened them and cleaned them up for free. And this was a great opportunity for us to use those resin bond stones. But can you imagine what this is going to do to your Japanese VG10, your Super Steels, your Damascus? This thing's amazing. And so this thing will take it all the way to a show finish or anything in between. I guess it really just depends on what you're looking for and the kind of knife you're sharpening. But as you can see right here, putting an edge on it is not a problem. Let's take a little peek at the what this looks like under magnification after the fact. It looks like we've been able to radically clean up all those microscopic chips. And, you can't really tell in that particular shot, but man, the polish on it, it's incredible. Guys, thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you in the kitchen.